All right, welcome and thank you for joining us for the Radon Information Session for the 100 Test Kit Challenge. My name is Pam Workington and I'm with the Take Action on Radon team. And joining me tonight is Aaron Curry, also from the Take Action on Radon team. And then we have Marnie and a crew of people in person at the Salisbury Lions Club, as well joining them is Jeff LeBlanc. He's one of our CNRPP professionals. So he is in person in Salisbury, and then he will join us at the end of the half-hour presentation to answer a question or two. And then we will kind of split the online and in-person session to keep going with the online questions. All right, so we want to start by saying that Take Action on Radon is proud to unite groups from across Canada, which encompass the traditional territory of many First Nation, Métis people, and Inuit whose ancestral footsteps and rights extend beyond the colonial boundaries that exist today. We respectfully honor these people's rights, history, and relationship with their land. And I am joining you from Winnipeg, which is Treaty 1 territory, home of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, and Dene people, and homeland of the Métis. And we are going to start by going through some of the basics of radon and its health effects, and then we will go into the details of the 100 Test Kit Challenge program. So radon is linked to lung cancer. It is the #1 cause of lung cancer for non-smokers and the second cause of lung cancer for people who smoke. It is a known cancer. Biologically, they have connected radon to lung cancer. When radon decays, it releases energy. So it's radioactive and spontaneously decays. And when this happens while we are breathing in the gas, then it damages our lung tissue. And so that can create a mutation, which shows that there could be a link to lung cancer. But then in addition of knowing this sort of biological connection, they have also done research. So the research started in uranium miners and then moved to residential case studies to show that there is a definitive link between breathing in radon and radon exposure and lung cancer. And in fact, it's not just Canada where we know this. This is known around the world. And in fact, much of the research that we did through Canada in the 80s and 90s contributed to a body of research that was combined with other international studies to show this link. And not only to show that it was linked, but to show that it was linked at a lower exposure than they had maybe previously thought when they were just looking at radon with miners. So radon has now been classified as an IARC carcinogen or a known Class A carcinogen. It has also been confirmed by the World Health Organization, and so they have developed a handbook for nations to put together a radon program and set standards on radon levels. And it is also known around the world. So many other countries are also informing people about radon and taking action to prevent their citizens from radon exposure. Now, I mentioned that it's the #1 cause for people who don't smoke, but an important thing to consider is that for anybody who has a smoking history or is a current smoker, the risk is greater increased. So radon is alone a lung cancer concern, but when you combine the two, it impacts your risk even greater. So if somebody has lifetime exposure to high radon, their risk is 1 in 20. If they combine that with the smoking risk, then their risk goes up to 1 in 3. So that's 5% compared to 33%. So you can see that it's significant. And there's a couple different ways that we can show this. So the exposure from radon increases as the amount and the time increase. So you can see on this graph that the exposure goes up in a linear form. We also have tried to show this in a table. And so you can see here in the table that the risk for a non-smoker compared to the risk for somebody who has a smoking history are both significant and they increase as the levels go up. And so on this chart, we've showed in red the numbers that are over the Health Canada guidelines. So radon is not a no exposure under 200, but Health Canada has set a guideline level of 200 becquerels per meter cubed and recommend that we reduce all buildings to under that. But the reality is that they do recommend when we reduce it to reduce it as low as possible because it isn't no exposure under that 200 level. Okay, so radon comes from uranium. Uranium is found in our soil all across our country. Uranium is a solid, so it stays in the ground and it decays, and eventually it decays into radon. And radon is a gas, so it moves up out of the ground into the air around us, but it also enters any building that has contact with the ground. And when it builds up to a high level, that's now when it starts to increase the lung cancer risk. So it can be in any building, homes, workplaces. It can be in side-by-sides or even mobile homes that are well skirted. And we talk about it coming in through contact with the ground. And so as we test, we'll talk about how we test thinking about from the basement up, but it doesn't stay in the basement. So radon does move throughout buildings. And so we do recommend that you test even if you don't have a basement or you don't spend time in your basement. So radon can be in all homes, schools, or any workplace, any building that has contact with the ground. So we focus on testing in homes with Take Action on Radon, but we do encourage communities to make sure that their schools and childcare centers have been tested, as well as their workplaces. Now, testing for radon is really easy. Even easier for you because you're going to get the kits right away. But it is important to make sure that you test. Radon is invisible. You can't sense it with any of your senses. There's no smell, taste. And so you do need to test in order to know what the radon level is. Now, I mentioned the fact that radon comes from the soil and it is a gas. And so gases move from an area of high pressure to low pressure. And our homes are typically under low pressure, and the ground beneath our homes is under high pressure. Now, there's things that can change this pressure difference. And when there is a pressure difference, that's what draws the air into our homes. So things like as the weather is getting colder, the ground is getting colder, and that air in the ground is getting to a higher pressure. And so then that means that the air is drawn in at a greater rate into our nice warm homes. But there's other things that can change the amount of gas moving into a home. Other environmental factors, so a windy day or a low pressure system can impact how the air moves and how those different pressure differentials occur. But then there's also things that can change the way that you use your home inside your home. So if you have a kitchen vent fan or bathroom fans and you turn those on, if they remove the air from your home without a makeup air, then it will reduce the air pressure inside your home, creating a greater pressure difference and increasing the amount of radon that's coming in from the ground. And so the levels can change. And so we don't want you to stop using your home the way that it was intended, but what we want to understand is what the radon levels are in your home as you use it normally. And so we talk about these things that can change the radon levels just so that you understand that they can change. And so it's not something that you should test for in a short-term test or quickly, but it is something that we test for over a 3-month period, so that we understand the average radon level in your home during that time. So for this program, we will be using long-term alpha track detectors, and they are accurate, and they're a one-use detector. So you'll open them up, set them in place, and then they need to go back to the lab to be analyzed. We do know that they are accurate, and we are doing constant quality control on it. So when we first get the detectors, we ship them to a chamber and have them exposed to a known level of radon so we can measure the accuracy. And then some of you will have 2 detectors, and Erin will talk a little bit about that. And so we do quality control to measure the precision of the detectors as well. But the reality is that when you get a report, you can have confidence in the detectors. Now, when you get a report, that radon level is shown in becquerels per meter cube. So this is how we measure radioactivity with radon, and that's a measurement of the radon in a volume of air. So Health Canada recommends that you reduce your radon level to below 200. And on your report, it will give you that number, and then it will also give you some additional recommendations based on that number. But we recommend that you reduce within a year, and that when you do reduce it, that you reduce it to as low as possible. And the good news is there are CNRPP professionals to help you with this. So that's why Jeff has joined us tonight. He's a local CNRPP professional, but there are others as well. So you can go online and find a list of professionals in your area. You can search by postal code or province and find a list of them. So you just need to go to cnrpp.ca and click on that Find a Professional. Now, if you do need to reduce your radon, it is important to use a certified professional because they will install the mitigation system according to standards. So we have a standard that we have developed with the Canadian General Standards Board, so CGSB. And the most effective way to reduce your levels is a radon mitigation system. So we've got a simplified picture of it on the screen that shows that the levels can be reduced through a pipe and a fan. And so it provides a pathway for the gas to go up and out of the house. So the pipe here goes down into the subslab space where it can provide a path for the gas to go up and out, and it can be discharged out of the house. And then there is a fan that is attached that will provide a movement of air. And so the key to make sure that this is properly installed is to ensure that the foundation of the home is well sealed. And this way, the pipe is drawing air from the full foundation of the home. And then a fan is attached that provides that movement of air, but the fan really does need to be properly sized for your home so that it moves the air up and out and where it discharged to low level. All right, I'm just going to check in with Marty. I see you had some tech issues, but I'll check in and see if you guys can hear. All right, well, the good news, in person, Jeff can do this presentation. So I'm going to keep going for those of us online, and then we can make sure that the group in person can get access to the information. All right, so here's a couple examples of some systems in place. You can see on the pipe that there is a manometer with the fan, and that provides a monitor so that you can see if the fan is working. So there's a little bit of liquid in that U-tube, and it provides an opportunity for you to see the fan when it's working. So it just goes off center when it's moving air. And when the fan stops working, then it kind of flattens out. And so then it's an indication that maybe something is wrong. On the other picture, there is an electronic one. So this one would sound an alarm when the fan stops working. So these are not measuring the radon and not giving you an idea of whether it's effectively reducing the radon. It's just giving you an indication of if the fan is still working. So in my house, I have a mitigation system, and I can't hear my fan. And so the manometer helps me with making sure that the fan is still working. Okay, so then if you do need a radon mitigation system, then you can reach out and you need some financial support. There is a national grant that is available. So the Lungs Matter is a program with the Canadian Lung Association that provides a grant for $1,500. And you can qualify for this by applying with a long-term test report and a quote from a CNRPP professional. But you also need proof of qualification. So that can either be through income, so you can upload financial information to show that you're under the provincial median income, or if you have a proof of a lung cancer diagnosis. And so if you go on their website, they have clear information there about how to apply and how you qualify. And after you've got this test, then you can look into applying for it if you'd like. The other thing we want to note is that in New Brunswick, last year they made a motion to prioritize test kits. So our program is funded by Health Canada and we work across the country, but we are going to start to see more test kits available throughout the province of New Brunswick, thanks to the provincial government. So they have been rolling those out through the libraries this fall. And another part of their motion was to look into how they can provide citizens with radon mitigation support. Okay, and now I'm going to hand it over to Erin to walk you through the 100 Test Kit Challenge.
Thanks so much, Pam. Okay, so Pam has given you the background and information about what radon is, why it's a health concern, and why you should be very happy you're participating in this program. Now I'm going to get into the nuts and bolts of just the process of our program. So basically, we advertise 5 easy steps: picking up your detector, which you'll be able to do over the course of the next week, placing it, following the instructions that come with it, and then logging on to our online form to start your radon test kit. It's a way of giving us the information that we need to give you your report. And then that's it. Once it's in place in your home, and I'm going to go into more detail of all these steps over the next few slides, but once it's in place in your home, there's nothing that you need to do for the 100 days that it's measuring radon in your home. Then at the end, there's going to be another online survey that we prompt you to do to give us the information we need. And then you're going to return your detector and then wait, and you'll get your report. Okay, so next slide, please. So once you get your radon detector, and it will come, sorry, we changed our slides. Can we go back to the previous slide for a second? We used to have more slides, so I didn't want to waste too much time. But your detector, which will look like the image shown on this, at the top of this slide, a little black square, will come in an envelope, a little manila envelope. And on the envelope, there'll be reminders of all these steps as well. Inside the envelope, there'll be a sheet of instructions. And there's, if you, probably not you, since you're joining us this evening via Zoom, but let's say you have a friend or a family member who's a little less comfortable on the internet or who doesn't have internet access, that's absolutely fine. They can participate by filling out all the information on the envelope itself. So your detector will be in that envelope along with an instruction sheet, and you simply follow the instructions on the sheet. Next slide again, please, Pam. So we will guide you in the instructions on placing your radon detector. So since radon does come in from ground contact of our homes, radon levels do tend to be higher in the basement and then the lower levels of the home than they are in the upper levels of the home. So that's why the instructions will guide you if you have a basement that you spend time in, say there's a bedroom, an office, or even a living room down there, then that would be a perfect place to place your radon detector. If you don't have a room in which you regularly spend time in your basement, well, then no problem. We would suggest then that you test on the ground floor of your home. So just moving up one level. And again, you want to measure the radon in the air that you yourself are breathing. So placing the radon detector in a place where you regularly spend time within that room is perfect. So next to a couch, next to a bed, on a filing cabinet, or the edge of a desk, any of those are perfect locations. You want to avoid just like kitchens, bathrooms, just because they have that additional ventilation, like Pam mentioned, the exhaust fans. And you also don't want to put the detector right near a window, just because of the fresh air that will inevitably be leaking in around the window frame. Next slide, please. So once you've placed your radon detector, you've chosen its location, then we do ask that you log on to radontestkitchallenge.ca. This web address is on the material that will come with your radon test kit. There's also a QR code that will take you directly here. And you're going to be visiting this site twice, once to do the start survey and once to do the end survey. And these are not long surveys. Basically, there's a few questions that are mandatory, and then there's some optional questions. The mandatory questions are simply those that we need to get you your report. So your name, your address, your email address, and the all-important date that you start your test kit. The day you start and the day you end your tests are critical. We cannot give you a report if we don't have these dates. That may not be intuitive, but basically what happens is there's no on-off switch on the radon detector. So once you take it out of its packaging, it's measuring the radon. So you're going to place it in your home, and then 100 days later, you're going to return it to the collection point in your community. And when it gets to the laboratory, they're going to analyze the little piece of plastic inside your detector. And by knowing how long it was active in your home, so that start and end date, that's how they're going to be able to calculate how much radon is in the air in your home. So we ask you for these dates multiple times, and it's important to give us the dates as accurately as you can so that you get the most accurate radon report possible. Next slide, please. So that's it. Please complete this as soon as you can after you get your radon test kit, because you may forget what day you started the test kit. There's also a spot on the envelope to jot the date down as well. Next slide, please. Okay, in 10 out of every 100 envelopes, there are 2 detectors rather than 1 detector. Pam mentioned that the detectors that we use are good and accurate detectors. We do quality assurance to make sure that they are performing as we expect them to be performing. And one of the ways we do that is by sending out what we call duplicate radon detectors. That's 2 radon detectors, and we ask that you treat them as a set. So please follow the placement guidelines, and instead of putting 1 detector on that desk or side table, just put the 2 side by side. In our online start and end forms, there's a spot for the second serial number off the second test kit, and you'll simply place it. You'll just put it in that form. So you don't need to do the start and end surveys twice. There's a spot for the duplicate. So again, this is only in 10 of the envelopes out of every 100, so not all of you will get 2. But rather than placing, sometimes what happens is someone will place 1 in the basement and 1 up in their bedroom. That's not the point of these detectors. Please, we ask that you treat them as a set and put them side by side. And then when they get to the laboratory, they will measure both detectors and they'll compare the results. And we want to see that they're telling us the same level of radon. Okay, so after the 100-day testing period is over, we're going to send you emails reminding you, hey, it's going to be time to return your radon test kit. It's getting harder and harder for emails to find their way to your inbox. I think just because we all receive so many emails that our email providers, especially Hotmail, that's why we ask not to use Hotmail if you have any alternative, but they just send a lot of things to spam. So we will start sending you emails towards the end of the testing period, but we'll also notify your community liaison, and we'll just try to spread the word in the community that it's time to return that test kit. If ever you do see one of our emails in your inbox, like we're going to be emailing you in the morning, for example, with a link to the recording, find it. If you find it in your spam or whatever, you can add us to your safe senders list. And this will help you receive future emails from us, which is really good, especially because eventually your radon report will be sent to you via email as well. So at the end of the testing period, we just ask that you complete the end survey in the same spot online, and then you return your radon detectors to the collection point within the community. And that'll be it. So 6 to 8 weeks later, because of course your detector has to be, there'll be the box out in your community for about a week. Then they'll package that up. They'll send it to us. We'll scan it and we'll start preparing your data. We'll send it to the lab and they will start generating the reports. So within 6 to 8 weeks, you should receive your radon report via email. This radon report is confidential for you. We're not sharing copies of your radon report with anybody else, so we are not sharing copies with the community organizers. And
We're back.
on your radon report, you will see your name and address, and you will see a radon number. A reminder that a radon test isn't a yes or no test. All homes do have radon. It's merely a matter of how much radon they have. So you'll have to refer back. We will also send you a little refresher of what Health Canada's guidelines are based on that radon level that you see on your report. And then you'll take the appropriate action. Either you'll be below the guideline level and you can rest easy knowing that you've tested your home for radon, or if you're above the guideline level, you can contact a certified professional to help you.
Perfect. And it looks like we've got Marnie back. Hey, Marnie, are you able to hear us?
Hi. Yeah, we got like right booted out of the internet, so I had to do a whole restart on my computer. But
Okay.
we're back now.
Yeah. All right.
So
Sounds good.
thankfully you recorded it.
Yeah, yeah, we did. And so we certainly will share it out. I think we'll just get Aaron to go through just a quick, I just go back to the 5 steps. So you could just do a quick, and then I've given Jeff some instructions so he can do a recap as well.
Absolutely. Welcome back, everybody, or welcome back, us. Okay, so basically, Pam wrapped up, and I've just been talking about the steps of this actual program, which are on the screen today. They start with picking up your detector. It's going to come in an envelope like that. It's going to look like that little black square. There's instructions in the envelope, and there's instructions on the envelope. So lots of instructions. We are going to ask you to place your radon detector by following those instructions. We ask for information from you a number of different ways. So here on the screen, you see us asking you to log on to our website, radontestkitchallenge.ca, where there is a start and an end survey. Also, you can, if you don't have easy internet access, you can simply provide us the information that is requested on the outside of the envelope. So we do try to make this program accessible in multiple ways. You're going to leave your radon test kit in place for 100 days, and in the spring, we will have a collection period where you're going to bring your radon test kit back and drop it in a box, and it's going to be sent off to the lab. So on the next slides, we kind of go through in detail, placing your radon test kit and, following the instructions and then giving us that information. And we had gotten right through to the part where you would be getting your own radon report via email from the laboratory. This is a confidential report. We don't share this information with the community, like with the town organizers. But what we do share with them and with you as a community, and this would be next summer-ish, is what's on the next slide. And this is what we call our community report. So the example on the screen is from St. Stephen, New Brunswick. These reports, we do prepare one for each community that has participated in this program over the last 7 years. You can find copies of them on our website. And basically our goal with these community reports is to summarize the testing program. So how many people tested? In this case, it was 76 homes. What percentage of those homes were above the guideline level? 13%. Then we represent that in little groups of homes. So the green homes represent the homes that tested and were below the guideline level. The yellow homes were those homes that were maybe getting closer to the guideline level. And then the red homes are the homes that tested above the guideline level. So that's that 13%. We also have a new icon that we've been very pleased to have to develop, which is a little, I think I see one there, a little home with a green check mark. And those are homes that have mitigated for radon. So that's been really nice. We didn't have to have an icon like that when we started this program 7 or 8 years ago. And over that period of time, we've started to see mitigated homes, so we had to come up with a way to represent them. The report also just kind of summarizes what radon is and why it's a health concern and why the community decided to participate in the program. Okay, so for your program, radon test kits will be available for pickup over the course of the next week, or if you're there in person tonight, starting tonight. So this is where you will get your Radon Test Kit. For those of you joining online, you can present yourselves during opening hours, Monday to Friday at the municipal office. And this is the same location where test collection will be happening in the spring, March 9th through 13th in the spring. But, we will communicate about that at the time. And I
Yeah.
think that brings us to the end of our presentation.
Yeah, so it's a good time to just check in with Marnie. For those that are listening online and will come in tomorrow or the following days to pick up the kit, do you have any instructions for them?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
I'll be at the town office. I'll be downstairs so that you don't have to come find me upstairs. So I'll try to make myself as readily available as possible. If I'm not there, there will be a list, and either Tracy or Lori or Scott or Diane will be able to assist.
Perfect. All right. Thank you. Thank you to Marnie and the crew as well. We really appreciate you facilitating and helping us bring this program to the community. And obviously, there's still work to be done with communicating and then handing out the detectors. So thank you to your whole team. Okay,
Thanks
so
for having us.
there you go. So that's the instructions. I think the part that you missed was a little bit about the mitigation and then the steps to place the detectors. So I think Jeff can fill those in if he hasn't already. So we won't bother going backwards through the information again for everybody. Does that fit?
Yeah, he filled in the group really well during our little
Perfect. Yeah.
Covered what we missed.
Yeah, he
I didn't
did.
know what you were going to do, but I think this is what
Yeah, I
you did.
think he did it just good.
Yeah,
Just
I
fine.
was sending him texts in with the instructions, so you can, if you haven't checked them yet, you can.
Oh, yeah.
They just came through.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we are very known for having really poor self.
Yeah, no, that's all good. That's why it's great to have some
You want
backup.
me to answer any questions from in?
Right. So we do have a couple
Do you want me to answer
questions.
any questions from online, Pam?
Yeah. We do have a couple questions from our online group. We'll start with a mitigation question. So we did walk through a little bit of the basics for mitigation, but for a home with a crawl space, is it possible? So I explained creating a sealed foundation, but in a more complicated home that has a crawl space, how do you do that, Jeff?
Yeah, so I'm not going to look at the screen. I'm going to look at the people here because
Yeah.
it makes more sense. So like I talked about before, that we measure how hard the house is sucking and we're measuring through the concrete. But if there's no concrete floor, there's a dirt floor or crawl space, but dirt floor or gravel floor, we have to install a barrier on the ground that then we can suck underneath of, right? So we need to create that. So it gets to be more expensive as a mitigation style, but we install a very thick plastic, like a 10 mil or 15 mil vapor barrier, all overlapped and sealed up the walls, mechanically fastened, and then the same pipes and fan, but it's sucking underneath of that plastic now. And your typical vapor barrier that you'd see is not sufficient enough because it's not overlapped and sealed, and it's usually not the thick stuff that we see. So yeah, it's still fixable. It takes a little bit more time and more money usually.
Perfect. So that spawned another similar
Can you guys
question.
hear on that side?
Yeah, we could hear you. And what about a house on a slab? So it was a simple question as that, but I'm gonna get you to expand it to, we often get people asking, can my house have high radon if I don't have a basement, if I'm just a house on a slab? And then the second part is, if it is high, how do you reduce it?
Yes, these people already got that, but I'll answer that again. So yes, if you're in contact with the earth, right? So remember we were talking that radon's in the ground and it's coming out everywhere. So your floor, your cement floor, if it's a basement or a slab, it's like a tarp on the ground, stopping it. So we always talk about basements because that's just normal talk, but it's the lowest level of the house. So anywhere where there's a cement slab or a basement in contact with the ground, it has that opportunity to bring it in. Now, I will talk about what Pam said something earlier, and I thought it was kind of neat. I have a side by side. I don't know if anyone else does, but she said even in a side by side you can get radon. She meant a side by side duplex, is what she was talking about. I thought, wait, there's no radon in my side by side when I'm out there. Anyway,
Regional
but
regional
mini homes, that kind of
terminology.
thing. Exactly. Yeah. I thought it was quite funny. Yeah. Like a mini home, if your mini home is off the ground on piers and it's ventilated underneath, typically, and I'm going to say typically, you wouldn't have radon coming in. There's still opportunities if you have like a conduit pipe that brings your water line in or an electrical line that the gas can travel in, but typically with air blowing underneath, you won't. But a mini home on a foundation, of course, is the same thing. It's just a home on a foundation. And then you asked, how does it come in? Is that what the next question
How
was?
do you mitigate a home on a slab?
How do you mitigate a home on a slab? It's more challenging because there's less places to hide our pipes, right? It's a slab, so usually there's a smaller mechanical room or less of a room that way, but it's the same principle. We're going to go down through the floor and we're going to get airflow across the floor. But in doing that, what we do, it's called pressure field extension. So remember I was saying we have to size the fan to make sure the air can flow from this side to that side of the room. Well, that's what we do is we measure how far the pressure field extends underneath the floor. So in a slab or in a basement, it's the same process, just making sure we're getting air moving everywhere under the floor. Yeah.
Perfect. We did have a question about if the kits are the same, and yep, all the kits are the same that are getting handed out in our program. So whether you're picking them up today in the at the Lions Club, right? Or in later on this week when you go and pick them up, it's the same kit. I will point out though that in New Brunswick, the libraries had been lending out digital monitors, so those are different. But we'll go. You can see our other presentation about digital monitors if you're curious about those. But the ones that we're using are the one-use detectors. And then one question about placing the detector, and then after you answer this, Jeff, I'll do some announcements, and then we can finish up if there's more questions online, and you can do some more chat in person. But I'll just get you online, or you to answer this question. I've heard that the placement of the tests can be very specific, but we've presented it very simply. So can you get improper results if you put it in the wrong place?
Okay, so yes, and I talked here about where to place the detector as well. And it's really the simplest thing to think about is you want to test the air you're breathing. Where do you spend time? Where are you breathing the air? And that's really the area to test. So you don't typically lay down on the ground by your sump pit. So you don't put it down in the sump pit. You're probably not 8 feet tall, so it's not right up at the ceiling. You want it in breathing height and where you normally breathe. You don't put it in a closet because people aren't hanging out in the closet. So, and you don't want, like I said, kitchens, bathrooms, laundry. Wherever there's an exhaust fan that's exhausting air out of your house, don't put it in that room. And really, it's that. So putting your living room, your bedroom, your family room, your office, that's on the lowest level. Now, some people will say to me, well, I have an old basement and I only go down there to throw wood in the furnace and I don't go down there very often. Well, then you don't have to test down there. But if you're going to go down there and maybe you have a gym down in the basement and you go down to work out, well, then you might want to test in that area, right? So just use your heads in your own house and how you use the house. And that's how you determine that the best room to test.
Yeah, and then on the instructions, we do have Health Canada's information about all the different dimensions of where to put it. And so I think this is the key. We kind of keep it simple. We say keep it up off the ground, keep it a meter away from the window. And like Jeff said, think about the breathing zone. But if you can't find a table that meets all those distances, don't worry about it. Just put it in a location where you're going to leave it for the 3 months. And we have done research that shows it really doesn't matter if it's in a varied location. So it's really fairly even throughout the room. Okay, I'm just going to do a couple announcements, and then I know you've got more questions in person, so we'll sign off and let you guys keep going. But I don't want you to miss out on our contest. Before we go, we want to tell you about the November contest. So, Jeff, make sure you get everybody in there entering our November contest. You can learn about Radon and then tell somebody else about it. So all you need to do is take a picture that represents how you shared the information, and you can enter the contest. And we have weekly gift card draws. So we've got one more left for our weekly gift card of two $50 gift cards. And then we have grand prize draw of a paddleboard, a Fitbit, and a stand mixer. So you can win all sorts of prizes. And we also have the Radon game. So if you go on november.ca, so we're playing on the word November, KNOWVEMBER.ca, then you can play the radon game and you can learn about where you should be testing for radon in your community, have fun, and then you can use that to enter the contest as well. Okay, thank you to Marnie, and thank you all that joined in person today, and to Jeff LeBlanc for helping us out. And we will say goodbye to the in-person, and then you guys can look after questions there, and then we will just check in with our group online in case there's a few more questions. All right, thank you. Take care.
Thanks, ma'am. Thank you, Aaron.
All right, good. Well, thank you all joining online for our online presentation. See, a little entertainment while you're learning about radon. Thank you for those questions that you've already brought forward. Is there any more questions before we go? All right, I think we've covered most of the basics. Erin, how about you? Do you have anything else that you think we usually cover?
I don't think so.
I guess one other question we typically get is about HRVs. So some homes may have an HRV, which is a heat recovery ventilator. And so we often get a question about whether or not they reduce the radon levels. And so it is possible that they may have some level of reduction. An HRV is a system that is connected in with your central furnace, so your ducting system, and it provides fresh air into your home. So what it does is it brings fresh air in from the outside, and at the same rate, it takes conditioned air out of your home. And so ideally, when this is balanced, this is just a nice, good fresh air, and it may provide a little bit of ventilation and reduce your radon levels. But it's not the way that we recommend reducing it if you don't have it. So it's not the first recommendation that we make to reduce the radon levels if you don't already have that installed. But the other thing to note is that it does get out of balance, and so that filter can get clogged, and it does need regular maintenance. So we do recommend that if you do have an HRV, that you might want to consider purchasing an electronic radon monitor that would measure the levels over time, so that if you did start to see that the levels were going up, maybe this is because the HRV is getting out of balance or the filters are getting clogged, and so it'd be a good reminder to maintain it. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Oh, I see a comment from that they can be separate, and so that's true. But it's basically in the system. So yeah.
Yeah, and we got another excellent question from Amy. This is something I normally touch on.
Oh yeah.
What happens if you're away the week that we're collecting the test kits? We do always try to avoid the spring break in each province. So you've got a couple of options. If there's someone who, can return your test kit for you, perhaps a family member, or if a friend is checking on your home, perhaps they can grab your radon kit and return it. If that's not possible, if you're simply going to be away, no problem. Also, if you forget to return your test kit, no problem. You can mail it to us at any point. Our address in Winnipeg is included in the material that comes with your radon test kit. So you just have to pay the postage to return the radon test kit, which is not very much because it's nice and thin. The lab designed it specifically to fit into the letter mail, I think is what they call it. And And you'll still receive your radon test report as long as I have your dates and your email address. So this is really important to know, whether you're going to be on vacation or inevitably some people just forget, or if New Year's comes around and you realize, I have not placed my radon test kit yet, place it. Don't worry about it. Leave it in place for 91 days and return it to us later in the spring. That's absolutely fine as well. So if you miss that collection period, it doesn't mean your radon test kit is void. It's still very useful. Just get it back to us and we'll get it analyzed and get you a report.
Perfect. Yeah, good one. Thank you, Erin. All right. Any other questions? All right. Well, our contact information is on the screen, and so you can certainly reach out to us if you do have more questions. We are really thankful that you are participating in this program. We think your knowing and reducing your radon exposure is really important for your health of yourself and your family, and so really glad that you are taking action on this. So go pick up that kit. I did want to note that we had a lot of interest from Salisbury. So we were able to get them 200 kits, so a little bit more than our normal distribution this year for your community. But I think there's still a wait list. So make sure you go pick up that kit as soon as you can, because we will open the wait list at the end of the week. So for those that would like to get more kits. So go in and pick that up in the next few days, and make sure you tell Marnie and her crew that thank you for helping us with this program. And thank you all of you for joining us tonight. Thank you, Erin, and we hope you have a great evening, and we will chat or connect with you in 3 months.
Thanks, Ben.
Bye.
Bye-bye.